We're still waiting that confirmation that they've started the course. I think we are live. I can't quite see the message. It's not popped up on my Teams account, but I think we are live, so we're good to start. So.
Okay, thank you, Emma. Right, welcome everyone. Graham, do you want to speak before we start?
If I may, I think it will probably save me repeating myself potentially at every item. Just to say that we had offered opposition members a briefing in terms of today's agenda. Councillor Taylor joined that briefing and received updates on all of the papers before you today. There were no particular issues and support was given to all of the matters that you're due to consider, both for yourself, Councillor Fairhurst, and also for Councillor Warwick. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. Right, so if we go to item 1, and Denise, do you want to lead off on this one?
Certainly can, thank you. So I'm presuming you just need my usual quick and hard summary. So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for your time. So I'm representing myself and Matthew Fly, who's on the call in my team as well. So here to talk about short-term services, step up living care. So the request that is being made relates to a short-term service in relation to adults over the age of 18 in Hampshire, not only older adults. As individuals, I'm hoping are aware, we currently run a very successful short-term services step-down service, bed-based and home-based for people coming out of hospital. We've recently moved to include a step-up service for bed-based, which is for individuals who are still in their own home, within their own community, who may need temporary support in order for an assessment, a Care Act assessment, which can't take place in their own home, to temporarily step them up into a local authority bed to have that assessment. We have an excellent rate of people being able to return back to their own home from that service. In order to complete the set, as it were, we are looking for to replicate the living care service for individuals within their own community where somebody has a temporary increased need in relation to their Care Act eligibility, or whereby we need to support the assessment of an individual within their own home with a greater level of care than they currently have. So it would be a non-chargeable service as it's classified as an intermediate care service on a temporary basis. The individual would receive their Care Act assessment from a nominated and allocated social worker, complete the Care Act assessment, and then the individual would move on to their long-term service, or in a number of cases, individuals have not actually needed any services at all from the local authority and have been supported with voluntary sector or with family only. So we are looking to go out to tender on a block service arrangement in order to maintain the quality and to maintain the cost of that service. At a manageable rate, we would look to then review on a monthly basis, but do a formal review at 6 months and 8 months and bring those findings back to older adults DMT in January 2024. I'll pause there.
Pause there, Denise. I think this is a really good step forward for us. I think, you know, the residents will benefit enormously. And I know Dave will say it will probably save us money in the long term. But before I say anything else, can I go to Councillor Withers and Councillor Briggs, who are sort of doing a double act today, to see if they've got any questions for us?
No, I've got no questions. I fully endorse what the aims of the recommendations. I think it's very, very positive.
Feel the same. I can't think of any questions. You've explained it really well, and it's very, very positive for the people of Hampshire. Thank you.
Right,
Councillor
Warwick, I'll ask you simply because Denise did make the point it wasn't just for older adults, it could be for younger adults over the age of 18, so I felt you might want to have some input.
Yes, no, thank you so much, Councillor Fairhurst, and thank you, Denise. I think this is a really good paper. Denise, I just wondered if you anticipate there'll be any challenge in recruitment. I know you're going out to tender, but that is a challenging position for us as a county council and for other councils across the country at the moment. I just wondered if your opinion on how that tendering process would pan out.
I think we've already had interest from providers, and the last time we went out to tender, which was April last year for the step down service, we probably could have appointed 3 times over, Matt, I think. There are plenty of living care services out there. I won't say they're all as good as we would like them to be, or what we require from them as a local authority. I don't think we will have any issue at all with recruiting to this, and we've had no issues at all in the 2.5 years we've had the step down living care. We've never had an issue with sourcing carers for those services. So I'm very confident on that. That's
brilliant. No, that's really reassuring to hear. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Right. Yes, I imagine if you're a carer, the idea of having one client that you're looking after is far better than going around 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 each day. You know, and it's a much better working environment in a way. So anyway, sorry, anything else? Graham, do you have anything to add?
No, I just endorse, I think, what Denise has said. We know for a whole range of reasons, and some of them have been prompted as in response to the pandemic, but some of them are following a trend over a period of time, which is, of course, people wish to remain living in their own homes wherever possible. And actually, you know, the step down services from hospital, I think this is a really positive development in terms of step up levels of care rather than moving people out. So I think it's an entirely positive thing.
Thank you. Jennifer, perhaps I should ask you if you've got anything to add. Any pitfalls you can see?
No, nothing to add, Councillor Fairhurst. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Denise and Matthew. I'm very happy to approve the recommendation of up to 5 million. Okay, thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Right, moving on. Simon, are you or Helen going to present this?
I'll start and Helen will pick up with the details. So,
Okay.
Councillor Fairhurst, this is a paper in line with our new duties around domestic abuse, which the County Council were given, and this is about working with our Tier 2, so our district county authorities, around a whole housing approach to ensure that people are able to have the right accommodation. Helen, do you want to pick up the details?
Yes, thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. As Simon said, this paper relates to our duties under the Domestic Abuse Act, and specifically around safe accommodation. So ensuring that people who have experienced domestic abuse have access to suitable and safe accommodation. The paper is specifically around grants to district and borough authorities for developing options for safe accommodation. So we've been allocated funding. So Hampshire County Council has been allocated funding by the Department of Levelling Up Housing and Communities. And this has been an annual fund for the last couple of years. And we want to use this allocation or part of this allocation to enable these grants to district authorities. This is in line with our wider strategy, the plan for safe accommodation, and in partnership with our districts and boroughs. Simon mentioned the whole housing approach. This is the nationally recognised framework to support the housing and safety needs of victims and survivors of domestic abuse. And the whole housing approach broadens out the options available to people. So that might be around flexible funding, which is essentially payments to enable people to access accommodation quickly. It might be dispersed accommodation, so alternatives to refuge accommodation, or indeed it might be options to house the perpetrators of the abuse, so they are removed from the house where the survivor or victim is. So yes, the proposal is to allocate grants to each of the districts and boroughs to deliver elements of the whole housing approach, this proposal is over the next 2 years. I'll finish there, but happy to take any more questions.
Thank you, Helen. No, I'm really pleased. I was really pleased to hear you say that they might leave the victim in their house, especially if they've got children, because I feel that's so important. If they can stay in their house and be protected and the other person removed, life must be better for them. Because, yeah, so I was really pleased that we can use the money to affect that if where possible. Okay, Simon, you want to come in?
Yeah, I was just going to say, sorry, my hand didn't seem to work. You're absolutely right, Councillor Fairhurst. And also, if the perpetrator is moved out, that the victim's house is made safe, they have extra locks and things like that. So it's not just taking them away, because they obviously know where they live.
Yeah, no, that's good. Thank you. Councillor Withers.
No, I think this is a very positive move. We all know that abuse went up during COVID and has continued, obviously, during the standard of living crisis that we've got at the moment. And being able to stay in the house is very important with your family. The only question I've got in working with the police on this, I assume that restraining orders are put on the individuals to stop them actually visiting that property once they've been removed. I know it's nothing to do with the grants, but it's all part of the safeguarding policy.
You work very closely with the police on the partnership board, Councillor Withers, ensuring that all the kind of aspects are joined up. So you're right. I mean, it's not a given that there's a restraining order, but there'll be police intervention and making sure that the right protections are put in for the victim in that space. So yeah, all around that kind of model, working with the perpetrator and the victim, depending if they're convicted or not. There's lots of things wrapped up in that, but very closely aligned with the police.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Briggs?
No, again, it's very reassuring to know that these people are going to get the help they need. My only question is, somewhere like Havant that doesn't have any of its own housing stock, is it just as easy to work with housing associations?
Yes, so we've got a member of the team who's working very closely with each of the districts. That's her job to do that. So obviously each district has a different model around housing. So she works with them on the basis of what they have available. So it might be a different solution in each district, and that's the benefit of doing it this way with the grants that can be then uniquely tailored to each district's requirements.
So it's very flexible. Thank you very much.
Councillor Warwick.
Thank you so much. I've got nothing further to add other than it's really positive to see this partnership working and the flexibility in this paper as well. Thank you.
Okay, right. Thanks. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Simon. Oh, Jennifer wants to come in.
Oh, I just want to draw your attention to the last recommendation, which actually takes it further than 2 years, delegating the authority to Simon 25-26 to cease or to continue, depending on the funding that's made available.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Right. Duly noted, Jennifer. Right, very happy to agree with the recommendation. And Helen and Simon, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, last one from me, the outside bodies. This is a very quick and very welcome one. I think Councillor Kirsty North is going to become our member on Southern Help. Councillor Bill Withers, who I think is present still, is going to be our co-chair of the Hampshire Learning Disability Partnership Board, except I think it's just called it's just changed its name, I think. So we'll have to get the name right, Emma. Okay. And Councillor Leslie Menahan is going to go onto the Autism Partnership Board, the Hampshire Autism Partnership Board. And we have another one to Hampshire Hospitals, Emma Kovanako, who's going to be the youth representative. I think that's them all, Emma. Yeah, happy to appoint them.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, I will going to stand down now and hand over to Councillor Jan Warwick for her part of the proceedings. Over to you, Jen.
Thank you so much, Councillor Fairhurst, and good afternoon. I am the Executive Member for Younger Adults and Health and Wellbeing. So thank you for attending my virtual decision day, which is continuing to be webcast on YouTube and via the County Council website. We have no deputations today. Item 4 then on your agenda is on page 27 of your papers and is Demand Management and Prevention Grant Award. And Peter Stokes, I think, is going to present this paper this afternoon. Peter.
Thank you, Councillor Warwick. So this paper is recommending the approval by yourself of 4 grants totaling £71,891 to cover a range of time periods between April 2023 and September 2024, depending on the awards of the organisation, as part of our Local Solutions Fund. The Local Solutions Fund is one of our grants we give in adults health and care, which is designed to support communities and to engender and start new sustainable pieces of work within those communities, recognising that often work which is on that local level can help meet our needs and demand, as well as respond to that local community need and also ensure that it meets what they also require from it in terms of it's a service they can access. In terms of drawing up these applications, we work with them from that point of application to make sure that the application is sustainable beyond our life of this grant. We, as part of the grant agreement, should we award, all these grants are given for a one term, and there's no expectation of future funding. Indeed, in part of our working with them for that in their application process is to ensure they are sustainable beyond our grant through other income sources or other models of working. In terms of the 4 grants before you today, the first one is a grant to Koala Club for £29,891. This is a group which work in the predominantly in Test Valley, although they will take referrals from elsewhere in the county, looking to work with people who supporting older adults with learning disabilities, autism and other spectrum disorders for 18-month periods. In terms of this, older adults is actually from 45, recognising that often those with learning disabilities often have a lower life expectancy than other people in our society. And equally, the programme is designed to work one-to-one with residents in an intensive way to build up their independent skills, recognising that many of these people are cared for by unpaid carers who are often their parents, who, if the people are in their 40s and 50s, are older than that still. So it helps ensure they're independent and can move on or can function beyond that their current environment in which they may live. The second grant is a grant of £7,500 to go towards Unity, the community voluntary service, the Council of Voluntary Services in Test Valley. This is for a targeted befriending project for older adults in the Test Valley area, and it fills a gap in terms of we have befriending projects elsewhere in the county and in every other district apart from this one, so this kind of almost completes the circle. This one is not an ongoing befriending project, but it's designed to work with people for periods of up to 12 weeks as they kind of come back from hospital or from struggling back to adjust from other issues in their, which in their home, in their community. It's designed to kind of support them to link into other services and support and other groups and other areas of people who can give them that social support and interaction beyond the service. It also will act as a step down service in some ways for those who no longer require support from the Happy Healthy Healing Hut, which was funded last time, which is a more intensive service. Equally, for those people who don't meet the referral criteria for that, as this will also provide a step down in this area. The third grant is to go to Basingstoke Voluntary Action, a grant of 30,000. And this project is us putting some funding in, but equally, what is not mentioned in is also other funding is going to be provided by the ICB for this project separately to this. This is to provide to enhance community assets in the area by doing a community builder post, by providing community builder posts across 4 areas of Basingstoke, those being Hopley, Winklebury, Buckskin and South Ham. Communities recognise where there's higher instances of deprivation and other factors which often require people to enter into social care at an earlier age or more readily access social care. This is looking to provide that, those community link workers to find those community assets to build projects on the ground up, recognising in those areas there may not be those groups to set up already set up to kind of grant fund. So it's looking to almost provide the resources to kind of set those groups up in the first place, and then equally will be part of that money which is being provided also to kind of seed fund that development of those groups to then to help support those communities of need. The fourth grant is to Artwell, a grant of 4,500, and this is providing therapeutic art interventions to those with moderate to significant mental health challenges, enabling them to better express themselves and build strength and coping strategies through a series of art workshops. This is an approach which has worked and is evidence-based, and it's also going to act as a step down from other treatment which they may be receiving, and will be taking referrals from our community teams as part of that process. All of the grants in terms of that whole budget on in terms of the expenditure of 71,891, it is within the programme budget envelope for either this year or next year, depending on which year the funding is going to needs to be paid from. Equally, to monitor these grants, an officer will be assigned to monitor these to make sure we can measure the outcomes and also support the projects as they get funded to ensure that it's not just seed funding, it does go to a project which can be sustained longer term, providing that support as well as, if needed, also finding other sources of funding which may be suitable from later on to expand their services if that's required.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Peter, for that really thorough explanation about these grants that cover a wide range of different sort of support across the county. Councillor Withers, is there anything you'd like to add? And Councillor Briggs?
No, I think Peter's done very well there. I mean, taking up co-chairmanship of the Disability Learning Partnership, is just one element of this, and it's so important to ensure that as he said, that younger adults growing up with their carers can continue to progress and learn to live independently, and that's got to be the crux. And also along with that is to ensure that who they're working with have time for respite to ensure that actually the standard of service continues at the same level all the time.
Brilliant, thank you. Councillor Briggs.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm very happy with it. At the bottom it says it's management and prevention programme, and that's what it's doing. All we can do, the more help we can give people to prevent them deteriorating, it's better for them and better for us. So fully endorse it.
Perfect, thank you. Councillor Fairhurst, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, thank you, Councillor Warwick. No, I'm very happy with Peter's work and recommendations for us.
Brilliant. And Graham, are you happy there? I can see you nodding. Yeah, good.
Well, in that case,
yeah, no, I'm very happy to approve the recommendation as laid out in the paper. Thank you so much, Peter. And you're actually there for our for item 5 now is the annual core infrastructure grants to voluntary and community sector organisations, again laid out in your papers on page 41. And Peter, you're going to give us a summary of this paper, I think.
Yes, thank you again, Councillor Warwick. Yes, so these grants are to award, it's recommending 2 awards. One, an award of £495,990 to Community First Wessex for the next financial year, 23-24, as part of the infrastructure grants programme, which is to support the Hampshire Councils for Voluntary Sector Network, CVS network. The other grant is recommended to be awarded to St Vice Hampshire, totalling £63,000 for the same period as part of the infrastructure programme to support the Citizens Advice Network. Both of these grants are grants which not only support the activities of adult services, but also support not only the residents of Hampshire, but also support the interaction with all directorates of the County Council. And have formally been awarded via a performance and resources executive member as part of his decision day to reflect that value. The 2 grants, in terms of the voluntary sector network, the Community First will act as the lead organisation, but that money will be then will be divided and spent to ensure that the whole of the Hampshire County Council area is supported by the various different council voluntary services, there being 8 in existence. That work we split to ensure there's coverage within those areas, as well as specific money given to individual CVSs to ensure that there's activities undertaken to benefit the whole of Hampshire, including the trial and expansion of volunteer passports, which is looking to ensure that people can more easily transfer from one organisation in volunteering to another without requiring lots of onerous checks, if that can be avoided, as well as supporting online volunteering via online hub, and also supporting other organisations to find funding themselves to increase their sustainability. The other grant of 63,000 to Citizens Advice Hampshire is to provide support to the wider Citizens Advice network of 12 Citizens Advice offices. That support will provide training and support to those organisations and their volunteers, as well as helping to support with volunteer recruitment, and also provide a hub to enable a further development of county-wide projects which can then support the whole residents of Hampshire. All the grants are within the current financial envelope, and there'll be monitoring meetings throughout the year. We have quarterly monitoring meetings arranged with officers to monitor those grants, with feedback taken from the other directorates about the progress as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Peter. So again, significant grants, but reaching our residents right across the whole county, which is really important. Councillor Withers, is there anything you'd like to add here?
No, I think Peter's summed it up very nicely. The only question I've got, Peter, is you were talking about the moving of staff from one area to the other. The dreaded DBS, which hits us in many ways of moving from one area to the other, but because this comes from the county council, I assume that they don't have to change the DBS every time they move.
Well, no, in terms of these grants, this is more about the volunteers, and it's volunteers who volunteer those organisations. One of the reasons how they're doing it is that the Council for Voluntary Services will hold that CVS, and although they volunteer for those organisations, they almost do it on behalf of the CVS, hence it's easier to passport across. So almost you're getting one, rather than volunteering for one organisation and another organisation requiring 2 DBSs, almost they're lending the volunteer out, in terms of doing that, which it speeds up time, reduces bureaucracy for all, which also means that additional back office costs can be spent on delivery rather than on administration unnecessarily.
Yeah, which it gives us great flexibility of staff, doesn't it? Yeah, thank you.
Really good. Councillor Briggs.
Thank you, Chairman. I was just going to talk about the volunteers because, I always think without volunteers, the world would stop working. So I'm really pleased that you're going to make it easier for them, because even though I've got DBS from here, I still have to have one from the Rowans. And it does seem a waste of money and a waste of time. So I'm really pleased about that. Thank you.
Councillor Fairhurst.
No, nothing to add, thank you.
Thank you. Graham, is there anything you want to add on this paper?
No, I think the only comment I would make really is in support of what's already been said in terms of the portability of DBS from different volunteering organisations to another. One of the things that we have already started some conversations with the sector about, frequently new DBS checks may be a requirement of an insurance or some other liability. So we are having conversations to make all of that work without risk being increased in any way, shape or form. But it's a positive development.
Yeah, I think you've got all our support on that, Graham. I think it really makes sense. So brilliant. Thank you so much, Peter. So I'm very happy to approve both recommendations set out in this paper. So thank you so much. And that brings us to the end of our decision day. So Emma, can I ask that the webcast is now stopped? Thank you very much.